Hello Stud-Scribers, Red Suit Studs here, and today I'm going to be showcasing my custom LEGO Star Wars The Clone Wars diorama. This diorama is based on Season 7, Episode 12, Victory and Death, which is also the series finale. I had been hoping for a while that LEGO would make their own version, but I decided to take matters into my own hands and make my own. So now I'm going to show you all the ingredients that make up this diorama here, starting with our base. So for our base here, it's nothing too fancy, it's just the standard LEGO Star Wars diorama base here. This is actually from the Death Star trash compactor. I just pieced it out from there and bought it on Bricklink. It's pretty easy, it's a lot of standard parts, nothing too crazy. And then I just kind of filled it with these 8x8 tan panels here to cover up the base. And then I added these dug graves here for the clones' bodies, basically, where they bury them outside the Venator cruiser once it's crashed. And here you can see these 1x2 jumper plates. These are going to be where the helmets are stuck, how they kind of have the helmets in the sand there to commemorate the clones there. So it's a very standard base, nothing too crazy. There's no quote really I can put here since there's no printed tile for this episode, similar to the other Star Wars dioramas that would have a quote next to it, because usually it would be the LEGO Star Wars tile on the left and then a quote on the right, but I just took the LEGO Star Wars tile and then filled in the black here so that we still have that nice logo there, just no quote that we can put on there for now. Hopefully LEGO makes a set like this, but like I said, I kind of took matters into my own hands here. And you can see, like I said, around the sides we have those vents like all the other LEGO Star Wars dioramas have. So it's basically just your regular Star Wars diorama base plate here, and then I just added some color here to start us off with that sandy area. Similar to the Endor speeder bike chase diorama, which has the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi brick on its right corner, I added this Clone Wars brick that is from the UCS Venator on the corner of my diorama here. That way I can kind of commemorate that 20th anniversary of Clone Wars, because I feel like, similar to how the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi tile looks really good on that speeder bike one, I think this will fit really well since it is modeled after the series finale of Clone Wars, so I think this is an important brick to have on there. And of course, unfortunately, what would a clone trooper graveyard be without clone troopers? So I've kind of added a few different legions here that are all represented in that series finale. So we have some 501st troopers, we have some 332nd troopers, and we have just some standard regular white clone troopers. So I kind of wanted to split it evenly. We have 3 different 501st, 3 different 332nd, and then 2 of the regular ones. And I wish that LEGO had a ARC Trooper Jesse helmet, but I'll just have to make do with this heavy 501st Trooper here, because it is different enough from our 2 other 501st Troopers here to kind of differentiate it. So maybe one day they'll make an ARC Trooper Jesse minifigure and I can put that helmet here, but this is kind of going to be the best that I can do for now, because I don't really want to resort to doing any third-party custom helmets. I kind of want to keep it all official LEGO pieces, so that's how we're going to keep him for now, until hopefully one day they make a Jesse minifigure. But as you can see, I kind of used different stem designs for each of the kind of sticks or branches or metal material that they kind of have the helmets sitting on in the episode. So I kind of made every single one different. Some of them you can see consist here of a simple flick fire missile and this minifigure accessory holder and an extra stud on top. That way I can kind of give it an angle like it is hanging on that piece of metal there, because I could have just had them all stud connected on there straight up and down like this one, but I wanted to give them all a different angle just so it has a little bit of differentiation between them, so they didn't all look the same, because of course in the show they didn't look all the same. So this one here is also kind of on a tilted angle here. It has this little bar with stud connection there and a little like nozzle from a blaster there that is stuck in there. And then this one here is strictly just like a blaster, and then I also have this little lightsaber piece here. And it's not supposed to necessarily be a lightsaber, but just kind of like maybe the end of like a blaster on a ship or something that then they make shifted into a stand for the helmet there. And I kind of just wanted to put them all at different angles. So some of them are a little straight, some of them are kind of slanted here. You can see this one here is at a bit of an angle between these two pieces here that are connected. Same thing with this one here. I used that same minifigure curve piece there, that minifigure accessory piece, because that way it gives it a good angle on there so that it can kind of hang off that stick there. And you can see that all the helmets here are all either at a different angle or kind of looking off to the side here. None of them are looking straight on except for what is supposed to be Jesse's helmet here, because I kind of just wanted to emphasize that shot that's in that series finale that really hit home with Jesse's helmet kind of looking on at Ahsoka as she's standing there. So speaking of Ahsoka, let's put her right in front. So for Ahsoka, I had to source out a couple different parts that aren't usually included in her minifigure here, like this kind of poncho and this hood here, because in the episode, or in that last scene there, in the series finale, she has kind of a cloak on. So she has this gray hood here, and usually she would have her head tails under there, and granted, it doesn't really look exactly like her hood would, because she usually has her kind of head tails that are poking out, but I mean, this is kind of the best I could do for a cloak, because I also got this piece from, I believe it was a Jyn Erso minifigure from Rogue One, because she kind of had a similar gray cloak, so I thought this would be a good addition here with this cloak, because I thought about just doing a gray cape, but then her front isn't covered, and in the episode she is kind of wearing a cloak that's covering her entire body except for her face, so I wanted to make sure I got that effect there. So in combination with the gray hood and the gray cloak here, I think it'll make a pretty good representation of her in the show. The only thing that's a little disappointing though is that for her face, she really only has, in this season 7 variant of her character, she only has this angry face or this happy face, and I didn't really think the happy face was too fitting for the tone of the scene, so I flipped it to the angry side. I wish it was more of just a neutral or maybe sad expression, but I was between happy and angry, so I chose angry. So we're going to place her right in front here, right in the middle, facing Jesse's helmet there, and then we're also going to put in the lightsaber that she drops to the ground there. I have it clipped into this tan piece here so that it matches our base. So I'm just going to drop it right there. So then it kind of looks like just how it did in the show when she drops her lightsaber in the sand in front of her. Now this next part was actually the rather tricky one to come up with here, because I wanted to represent part of the crashed Venator, because since in the show you can see them, you can see parts of the ship crashed behind all the clone helmets, I wanted to have like a chunk of debris or a chunk that fell off the ship kind of standing behind in the sand behind all the clone troopers' helmets. So I kind of just looked through my spare pieces and I ended up finding these big gray panels, to which I then added some dark red, similar to what's on all the other Venators, and then I added this kind of grate piece here, just to kind of give it a little bit of that ship feel, or like it's being torn apart with these cables here too. So it's like a part of the ship that broke off here, and the real trick was trying to get it on the plate at a level angle, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to have it like it was tilted, like it crashed into the sand, right? And so I needed these turntable pieces here to then place on the back of the diorama, because then it can be at an angle so it looks a little bit more disheveled than if it was just standing straight up in the sand there. So I wanted to give it a little bit of an angle, similar to what I did with the clone helmets, because it's not a perfect scene, so I didn't want things to be perfectly placed. So I had to give it a little bit of motion there. So here you can see on the back how I've placed it on there. I have it kind of where this clone helmet is kind of coming through the middle between the two. That way it kind of gives the illusion that it kind of crashed right in the middle there, and they set up all the troopers around it, and it's kind of the illusion that there's more behind it. But since the base cuts off back here, it's kind of similar to some of the other dioramas where it'll just lead into the background. So then, of course, I wanted to give some more detail to the crash site here, because I remember in the show when the ship crashed, it's on fire, it's smoking, and I remember there was a lot of ashes and kind of sparks flying in the background. So I added these two fire elements, which are from a Super Mario Creative Box set, and then I added some of those more angled minifigure accessory pieces there to kind of give some angle to the ashes and the embers that are flying out from the fire here. So I'm going to put these fire pieces right behind this clone trooper's helmet here, so that way it looks like it's coming off the crashed debris here from the ship, and that way those embers are kind of flying into that background and also coming out towards Ahsoka here. And just how I mentioned that the ship was on fire, where there is fire, there is smoke. So I got these white cloud pieces and these kind of yellowish tan cloud pieces as well. And I kind of clicked them together on the back. I gave this one a couple of these ball joint pieces too, just to give it a little bit more depth so that I can kind of maybe move it around a little bit and give it a little bit more motion, a little bit of a different shape from this white one here, since this one is just connected to each other. And much to my surprise, this piece only comes in a couple different colors. I was hoping to have white and gray smoke, but right now it's only kind of also in this yellowish tan. But I believe there is a set coming soon that was actually just announced recently. I believe it's Bowser's train from Super Mario that has gray smoke in the set. So here's hoping that I could be able to get some of those gray pieces to replace these yellowish ones in the future. So here you can see I've gone and placed these two smoke trails on the back of the ship here. I've connected this ball joint piece to the back of the panel that's been crashed, and then I put the white ones down at the bottom here. So that way, when you look at it from the front, it's almost like the two smoke clouds are kind of billowing into each other there. And like I said, I hope to replace this yellowish one with some gray in the future. I feel like that would look a little bit more accurate. And with that, my Star Wars The Clone Wars Victory and Death diorama is complete. This show meant so much to me throughout my life, when I was a kid watching it on Cartoon Network, to even now recently when the show completed back in 2020 when I was an adult. And I think the scene that's encapsulated here is truly one of the best Star Wars sequences we've ever gotten. So of course I had to memorialize it with this diorama. So if you enjoyed the build, don't forget to like and Stud-Scribe. Thanks for watching.